We've had thousands of people go through our course, hundreds go through the mentorship, and millions of people see us online on YouTube, Instagram, wherever, talking about real estate. Here is what the successful people have done.
Welcome back to the channel. My name is Cody. This is Christian, and we're talking about the successful people because there's a lot of them out there. And there's a lot of unsuccessful people, but we want to focus on what actually works. Now, let's do an actual example. Logan Pritchett.
Yeah.
22 years old now. He met you when he was 21, had no real estate, no money. Now he's got, 2 mobile home parks, 29 units. That's pretty solid.
I would love to have started at 22.
I like starting a little bit younger, but he's crushing it at 22 years old. What was standing out about him? Because he had nothing when he called you up.
I think the big thing for Logan is he just asked good questions. Like, he was active in the group. He was posting in our forums. When he had a question, he would text or ask. But it was really just like he took the information, he applied it, and when something came up, he asked questions. And when he succeeded, he shared with the group, and more people supported him and got to know the story. But it really came down to he took the information, applied it, and then shared the journey in community with other people. And that, I think, was the difference maker. If you do those 3 things, you move really far, really fast.
Yeah, and he's absolutely crushing it. Super proud of you. Next up, we've got Vlad. I mean, Vlad is just an open-minded guy.
Mr. Stinger.
Yeah, Vlad's doing great. His first deal was how big?
He got
14, right?
14 unit seller finance. He was one of the early successes in our program.
Yeah, and one thing that I found about Vlad, for those who are trying to figure out how do I replicate this, maybe you've gone through the course, maybe you're just watching the YouTube videos, because there's a lot of great content out there. What Vlad did, he's so open-minded. He came to us. He was in some other groups. He was very fond of some of the other folks in the space, and we simplified it. He was open to receiving the information. People that are successful, yes, they ask questions, but you have to actually be open to receiving the info. If Christian and I have criticism for each other, we accept it. Sometimes it doesn't feel very good, but we accept the information. We're open to it because we don't want to be the smartest person in the room. We love to be smarter, but we're not know-it-alls. We're willing to accept new information. And Vlad did this super well because he was coming from a group that is very polar opposite to us and different in their strategy. Not saying they're wrong, but not saying they're right either. However, he was very open-minded.
And what ended up happening with his deal is he combined the strategies of everything he learned. He did the acquisition exactly the way that we would do an acquisition. He built a relationship. He came in seller finance, low down, and he found that because that building had a restaurant in it, he hated trying to lease the restaurant piece, and that was not the deal that he wanted to stay in long term. He used a couple of basic creative strategies to exit that deal and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, our goal is always, how do you own it? How do you never lose it? But he was able to absorb information, look at what he actually wanted to build. And I think he came to the point where he went, am I building the business that I want to build with this property? The answer was no. And so he got creative and walked away with hundreds of thousands of dollars, which moved him forward. That's exactly what you need to do, is just absorb the information, ask good questions, and be in community. Even in our groups, it's not like everything that we say is exactly what's going to work for you. We've just been through a lot in a very short period of time. We share the mistakes. We're imperfect. And ultimately, they're the bunch of imperfect investors doing our very best to learn from masters of the game and apply the information. If you can humbly accept the information and allow yourself to ask questions internally, whether you're right or wrong on your strategy, I found those people move the farthest, the fastest. Vlad was really fun to work with through that journey.
Yeah, so if you're recapping this, right, you got to show up, ask questions when you need questions answered. Don't just let it simmer in the back burner. Get the answers now. Got to keep open-minded so you can actually receive the information. And then the third one that we can really focus on, unless you have another one, is buy bigger. Chris Rich bought 7 duplexes instead of 1. A lot of people opt to buy 1 duplex or 1 quadplex or 1 sixplex. He bought 7 of them in a row, so he had the scale. He bought it seller finance, and I think that was $0 out of his pocket. Absolutely crushing it. I think that's over in Oklahoma.
Yep.
And he loves it. He's got bigger problems now than if he had 1 duplex. I think he had a hailstorm or something that caused an insurance claim.
I believe almost immediately after close.
it happens in real estate, but it's better to have that happen on 14 units than it is to have it happen on 2, because you have more income to support it.
Mm-hmm.
So going a little bit bigger. The people that are successful in the business, they're willing to go get the new information, actually receive it, and then apply it. And that's something Chris did really well, is he heard, let's buy a little bit bigger. And he could have bought probably 2 or 3 duplexes, but he opted to buy all 7. Crushing it.
One more group that did a really good job of this that I want to highlight, Ethan and Eddy. We've had them on the channel a couple times.
They're buying a lot.
They're buying a lot. They started, and they're doing single family flips. They had partnered with someone with a little stake in an 8-unit building, and then boom, bought a 24-unit building, brick building, tons of problems, tons of upside, and they got thrown into the deep end. And they're surviving and doing well. They moved from, I looked at that deal and I was like, that deal has a lot of problems.
Wouldn't do it.
A lot of upside, but I'm like, that's a big project. It's been so fun to watch them commit to it, take it on, fix the problems, following their journey. I'm super proud of these guys. And they did exactly what we say to do. They went, hey, I'm not moving as fast as I want to towards my goals. I'm going to take on a problem that is big enough to move me forward. And that's what they did. And they were right. That building is moving them forward.
Yeah, and they did something that we like to talk about, where the story is worth more than the real estate. They said this story is going to be shared, it's going to inspire people, and it's going to move us forward, and we'll cash flow along the way. That's what we did with 38 Plex. It's what got us some bigger pockets. Sometimes the story is just worth more, and we've talked about that a lot in some of our past videos. We don't talk about it as much anymore.
Yeah.
But they are taking that full on. They took the advice of, hey, sometimes the story is worth more than the real estate, and if we can get to cash flow, we can get to make a little bit of money, it's going to launch our career. There's absolutely deals out there where you can just launch a career out of it. 38 Plex is what did it for us. That started our multifamily strategy. I started doing it before I met Christian, but we didn't launch multifamily strategy until we bought that building, and now they're off doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. So good job, guys.
Now, don't just do a deal for the story. If the deal doesn't work on the basic fundamentals, do not violate principles. You're still going for cash flow, long-term fixed rate debt. The real estate buys the real estate. But there are certain deals where you look at it and go, this project is really hard. Is it the one that I want to do? And if you want to share the story and have the victory of doing that project, that's what happened with us on the 38 Plex. Rough building.
We get buy-in from the city now. Everybody knows us over there. We fixed a massive problem.
Yep. So if you want to be successful, let's summarize this. So first of all,
ask questions. Trying to do that.
You have to actually get to the information to go out and actually apply it. 2, you need to be open to accept that information. If you think you know everything, you don't. You need to be open, take those questions both internally and externally, and go apply what you learn from everyone, not just one group. Apply what you learn from everyone in your market. Obtain information, apply, attain, apply. The more humble you go about this, the faster you'll move forward. And lastly,
well, buy a little bit bigger, right? Just like Chris, instead of buying a couple duplexes, he bought 7 of them. He's got big problems and bigger incomes to pay for it. And then lastly, there are opportunities where the story is worth more than the real estate. You can get it to cash flow and make money, but it can actually launch a career.